Which was the first significant committee to recommend library development in India? Ranganathan Committee. The Ranganathan Committee was set up in 1948. The 1948 Ranganathan Committee report primarily focused on public library development. Which commission was the first to emphasize libraries as a part of the national education planning? Kothari Commission. The Kothari Commission's report is titled as Education and National Development. The Kothari Commission recommended a library be established in every school and college. Which committee proposed the development of National Information System for Science and Technology? Planning Commission Working Group. The working group on libraries during the 10th 5-year plan was headed by T.A.V. Murthy. Which commission recommended a national policy on library and information system in 1980s? Planning Commission's Working Group. Who chaired the Committee for the National Policy on Library and Information System? Professor D.P. Chattopadhyay. The National Knowledge Commission was established in 2005. Who was the chairman of the National Knowledge Commission? Sam Pitroda. NKC's recommendation on libraries focus on developing public library infrastructure. How many key recommendations on libraries were made by NKC? 10. Which recommendation of NKC emphasizes a centralized national commission on libraries? Number 1. The National Mission on Library was launched in 2012. NML was based on the recommendation of the National Knowledge Commission. Which body was set up under the NML to modernize libraries in India? National Virtual Library of India. The implementing agency of NML is Raja Ram Mohan Rai Library Foundation. Which organization was responsible for conducting a survey for NML? Indian Statistical Institute. Kaula Committee is associated with the library education policy. Which committee emphasizes the need for library and information science education reform? UGC Curriculum Committee. Which committee was responsible for recommending UGC Info Need? UGC Expert Committee. Which committee recommended the establishment of a National Union Catalogue of Serials? In Stock Committee. The Raja Ram Mohan Rai Library Foundation Committee plays an advisory role for public library development and assistance. Which committee reviewed the functioning of the NML in 2017? Dr. Ramchandran Committee. The 12th 5-year plan emphasizes libraries in the context of knowledge-based economy. Which report suggests establishing a digital library infrastructure for the rural population? That is NKC report. The Raja Ram Mohan Rai Library Foundation was established by the recommendation of the Ministry of Culture. Which committee work lead the inclusion of libraries in the National Policy on Education 1986? Kothari Commission. Which India state was the first to enact a Library Act based on committee recommendation? Tamil Nadu. The Tamil Nadu Public Library Act was passed in 1948. Which committee led the formation of the Kerala State Library Council? Kerala Library Advisory Committee. The Andhra Pradesh Library Association was influenced by Ayyani Venkata Ramaniha. Which state appointed a committee in 2000 for improving rural libraries? Gujarat. Which committee proposed setting up the National Virtual Library of India? National Knowledge Commission. The NVLI project is funded by the Ministry of Culture. Which IIT is the implementing institution for NVLI? IIT Kharagpur. Who chairs the NVLI project review and steering committee? Secretary of the Ministry of Culture. The NVLI aimed to support access to culture and scholarly digital content. UGC's Model Curricular Committee was set up in 2001 to revise LIS syllabus. NASTOC operates under the ICSSR. ICSSR Advisory Committee focused on the social science library networks. The Raja Ram Mohan Rai Library Foundation functions under which committee's guidance? The National Advisory Committee on Library, who heads the governing body of RRRLF, Ministry of Culture. Which committee developed LIS education standard for accreditation? UGC Expert Committee on Library Science. Which committee first suggested distance education for LIS courses in India? IGNOU LIS Working Group. IGNOU's LIS program was launched based on a report submitted in 1991. Dr. S.R. Ranganathan's committee also contributed to LIS teacher training structure. Which report suggested training program for library professionals across rural India? NML. The UGC Imponent Committee was instrumental in providing access to scholarly journals. DELNET was initiated based on the recommendation of a committee under Planning Commission. Which committee contributed to the automation of Indian libraries in the 1990s? UGC Automation Advisory Group. Which library network was the outcome of recommendation from multiple state level committees? EDINET, CalibNet and PuneNet. The idea of library consortia in India was first proposed by UGC Imponent Committee. Which major program under the Ministry of Culture focused on modernizing public library? National Mission on Libraries. The motto of the National Mission on Library is Information for All. The NML is implementing its initiatives through which nodal agency? RRRLF. The key project of NML to provide digital access to rare book is NVLI. Which committee has been instrumental in building policies around digital preservation in libraries? National Digital Preservation Committee. Under NML, which training program was launched to upskill library professionals? NML LIS training program. The NML identify how many libraries to be developed as a model library? That is 46. Which academic body was consulted in drafting training modules for NML? IGNOU. The training under NML covers which of the following areas? IT skill, library automation and digitization techniques. Training and research under NML are conducted through NML Resource Center. Evaluation of NML project is conducted by Project Monitoring Unit. Which institution manage the monitoring of digitization under NVLI? IIT Kharagpur. The Project Monitoring Unit under NML works under which ministry? Ministry of Culture. The evaluation framework for library modernization includes which parameters? Put forth ICT usage staff qualification. The Technically Advisory Committee NVLI consists of experts from IITs, IPLA, UGC and AICT. Which international organization improves NKC's approach to public access to information? UNESCO. UNESCO's manifesto for public libraries inspired which Indian library body? RRRL. The IPLA guidelines were used in drafting the operational framework of NML. Public-private partnership in Indian library development were proposed by NKC. Which global digital initiative inspired the design of NVLI? That is Europeana. The first national level survey of libraries in India was initiated under the NML. The agency's task with conducting the library survey for NML was Indian Statistical Institute. The NML library survey cover how many libraries? Approximately, that is 70,000. The purpose of NML survey was to identify gaps in collections, plan model libraries and collect baseline data. The NML survey's outcome influenced the development of NVLI architecture, library funding, state level policy of reforms.